We often think of our mind as the instrument that we use to make decisions, and for the most part, this is all we need. If we're going to make a decision about what kind of sandwich we're going to have or any kind of day-to-day decision-making process, then, some different neural connections are firing, and that's enough. But for bigger decisions in life, I believe that we can use our body more effectively than just our mind, because our mind can convince us of virtually anything, any position that we have. It can be influenced by culture, it can be influenced by family values and traditions, it can be influenced by your patterns, your familiar choices of the past can come in. So if it's something related to relationships, work, your life purpose, your spiritual path, you can tune into your body. Our brain we often think of as this kind of localized organ that, this is where the mind is, this is where all the thinking and the decision making occurs, all in this little area here. But it's all interconnected with our entire nervous system, and so we can utilize how do we feel throughout our entire body to tune into what kind of choice to make. And I'll give you an example of this. In the last couple days, I was having problems with an advertising company, and I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to use this one form of advertising that they offer. And I thought, it won't make that much of a difference financially, and it would save me some hassle, and I just didn't want to deal with it. And so, in my mind, this felt like a good choice, but I noticed the day after I made that decision that I just wasn't feeling right, and I didn't even know what it was. And if we're not feeling right, we can latch on to anything, because at any point in time there's something going on in the world that we don't feel good about, or people that we know are not acting the way we would prefer them to, or there's some circumstance of our life situation that doesn't feel right, or doesn't feel optimal. So in my mind, I could think, is it this or that, or why don't I feel good? Why do I feel some anxiety, some discomfort? Just don't feel in flow. And the thing is, when we feel in flow and we're on track in life, then we can roll with the various factors of the world and our personal situation that are not perfect. But when we're agitated, when we feel irritable on that level of the nervous system and the wisdom of the body, then everything can seem kind of agitating. And at the time, that's horrible, but it's really doing you a favor, because it can tell you something's off. Don't just try to go through your life with your normal kind of activities and distractions and habits, because something feels off. And I think that so much of what feels uncomfortable in life is misattributed to things that aren't really a big deal. It's something deeper. So in my situation, as it became later in the night last night, and this seems to be a time in which a lot more clarity will come to me, the energy is a little bit more calm, things are more silent, I feel more focused late at night. It came to me that, I think my body's telling me that I don't want to limit that advertising option that I thought I did. And when I realized this, I came up with a solution for how I could make tracking it work better. And the details aren't important, but I feel like being open to a solution gave me a solution, and I decided I'm just going to go for it. So instead of winding down with watching TV or whatever, I'm going to do about an hour's work and get things set up. And so from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. I just kind of put things together, and I felt better. I could feel the tension slip away when I had things resolved, and I went back on course with optimizing the work. And so, in the long run, this may result to thousands of more dollars in income, and so that's significant. But when I was relying on my mind alone, I felt as though it was not a big deal, and so my body said otherwise. And I think that these kind of things happen quite often in terms of telling ourselves something. And so the best way to get to beyond just what you tell yourself into the wisdom of a situation is to tune into your body. Practice body awareness by just paying attention to different parts of your body. Maybe you feel things more in your stomach. Maybe you feel them in your spine, your arms, your legs. Just kind of feel things out. Just tune in. If you're conflicted about a situation, just kind of tune in to your whole bodily wisdom. And know that you don't have to just rely on your head alone. Because like I mentioned before, you can come up with any story that's conceivable in your mind, and it might sound like a good story, but if you're not aligned with your body, then you're going to feel uncomfortable. So it's a great way to stay on track. It can seem annoying when it's happening, when you're feeling uncomfortable, but when you realize what you feel uncomfortable about and you make a choice based on inner guidance, then you can be grateful for the fact that your body wasn't just going to ignore some situation. But of course there are ways that we can numb ourselves to avoid our body. I think a lot of times that people that are, using alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, caffeine, prescription medication, etc., 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 are just getting away from what their body's trying to tell them. And new symptoms may arise. More heavy kind of illness, more serious kind of disease can then manifest itself if you're blocking one form of bodily messaging. Then something more intense can come up until you get it, until you listen, because you're not going to feel at peace ever, no matter how you try to avoid what your body's telling you, until you listen to it and take action. So thanks for listening.